Hi, podcast listeners. Welcome to the A World of Difference podcast. We have so many guests on this show making a difference in our lives, making a difference all around the world with the expertise that they bring. And yet so many of you are reaching out to me saying, you want more. It's not enough just what we're putting on these podcast episodes for you. And so I am here to extend a very warm welcome to you to our Difference Maker community, where you can join for as little as $5 a month to get all this extra content. Out the gate, you're going to get 30 plus minisodes of exclusive content not available for the regular podcast listeners, and an exclusive minisode every month. And you'll get exclusive voting power to help us pick podcast topics and more. And that's at our Changers tier. There's 3 different main tiers and then an extra larger tier. But whatever tier that you join at, you will be included in this extra content. And I know that many of you are wanting to go a little bit deeper. And so even though it gets a little wild in there sometimes because of how deep we go, I want you to join us there. This extra content is very special. It means a great deal to me to be a part of this community with you. And I would love to just exchange ideas or perspectives that you have around these different episodes. And that's the place where we do it. So please show up to our Difference Maker community. Give us $5 out of your pocket every month. And I think that you'll have a lot of fun in there because we do. And I would love for you to join us. So go to patreon.com/A World of Difference to join us there. Welcome to the A World of Difference podcast. I'm Lori Adams Brown, and this is a podcast for those who are different and want to make a difference. Happy second anniversary to all the A World of Difference podcast listeners. This is August 4th, our second anniversary of this podcast. And I just want to say to each of you around the world who listen very faithfully every week, to all of those who are new, who recently joined, and many of you who are just now brand new listening to this podcast for the very first time, we are so glad that you're here and that you listen. This is a very special episode because we're celebrating 2 years, and it has been 2 years of not only a global pandemic, but so many things that we've all gone through together around the world. This podcast is about the differences that we have, celebrating those differences, and also coming together around the table with our differences and our voices to help solve some of the biggest social problems of our day. And I just wanted to take this time on this anniversary just to celebrate each of you and to give you a little bit of a gift. Number one, a gift of time, because this is going to be a shorter episode. I know many of you, me included, are traveling this summer. It's been a couple of difficult years for travel, but many of you who are in the summer parts of the world right now, and even the winter parts, those of you out skiing in different places, it's definitely feels like a time to travel for many of us, but also because you have many of you's kids out of school. I have one that's about to start college. Oh my gosh, how did that happen? Fortunately, he's staying close by. Thank God for great schools here in California. He'll be here for a little while near us. And also my twins are starting high school. So we're spending some time this summer together just as a family. And I know that many of you are too. So one of your gifts today is a gift of time. It's a shorter episode. The other gift is I just wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of think through some things, and it's a time to kind of pause and reflect for many of us because of what's going on in the world, because of things we've been through the past couple of years, and just to take time to think through, if you had 10 minutes, what would you tell somebody, maybe 10 major points in 10 minutes that you would like to share with them? I was recently asked this question by a podcast friend who had me on his show. Many of you may have listened to it, and I will link it in the show notes because I do love plugging all of the podcasts out that are doing great work. And in particular, the podcasting community that's in the recovery community is very special. So my friend Stefan, who's in New Zealand, had me on his show not long ago, a few months ago, and then did a follow-up with me to just ask me the question, if you had 10 minutes to sit with somebody at an airport, what would you say? 10 points. And so he has allowed me to share that with you. And also it gives me a chance to promote his podcast so that you'll go check his podcast out. I know that you've also listened to one of the guests that I had on the show recently, which is Jill Teets, who hosts the Sober Powered podcast. She's on episode 89. If you haven't already heard that, I encourage you to check it out and check out her podcast. For those of you in the recovery community, and you know that in my family, I've had family and friends who've been involved with helping with Celebrate Recovery, friends that are involved with AA and different organizations that help people in their recovery process. But the recovery podcasts out there are helping so many people to make a difference in their lives. So it was an honor to be on Stefan's show and an honor for him to even ask me this question. So I wanted to share it with you. Dr. Stefan Neff hosts the podcast Steps to Sobriety and to the Light, and he had me on in May for his episode 299. So as somebody who likes to promote other people's podcasts, I do hope you check out Dr. Stefan's podcast there in New Zealand. But there are so many good podcasts out there, as you know, and if you have other podcast hosts that you would like for me to collaborate with, I'd be thrilled to do so. There are so many good shows out there, and I would love for more recommendations. I myself listen to many podcasts. I'm very committed to listening to the voices of others, especially those that I may or may not agree with, to help me expand and understand things I don't understand. And I love questions. I love the Socratic method. I love just all of us coming together and bringing our perspectives, which is what this whole podcast is about. Thank you to each of you who join, and happy anniversary. This podcast community has been beautiful over the last 2 years, and I look forward to how it's going to grow. So here's my 10 minutes that I did with Dr. Stefan Neff in New Zealand. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it gives you some thoughts about what you would say to somebody if you had only 10 minutes. Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to share 10 points in 10 minutes with you. It's a challenge I'm willing to accept, and I hope you are too. So come along with me for the ride for the next 10 minutes. First, I would like to say that I would not be the person I am today without the first point, which is to learn to listen. And I think that Stephen Covey's principle of seeking first to understand and then be understood has something that's really served me well throughout the many years of life that I have been blessed to live all around the world. I would say that in learning to listen, it's taught me my second point, which is to love. And I promise you, I'm not going to be a live, laugh, love person this morning. I'm not that person. I have been to Bali. I have not read the book, but I did watch the movie with Julia Roberts. But my life is much more than live, laugh, and love. But love, I would say, has been one of the things that has blessed me the most in my life. And as I've learned to love by listening, I have learned what it means to be a person who seeks justice in the world, because I think that ultimately justice is love. Love is also getting to know each other with curiosity and kindness. I am a person of faith. I believe that God is love. And when we love each other, it's the embodiment of God as an exchange between two human beings or between us and the planet. Whatever we are loving or whomever we are loving, I sense that we experience God in those moments. So I think love is one of the most important things. I would say I'm a lifelong learner, and I hope you are too. And I think that podcasting is a great way to be a lifelong learner, which is why I love being a podcast host. And I'm blessed to be here today sharing some of the things I've learned throughout my life with you. Primarily, languages and cultures have been some of the things that I continue to learn. Having learned and studied 6 languages and lived among many cultures, both growing up in international school and having friends all over the world from different cultures, living in Singapore for 10 years, which is, the most diverse nation in the world religiously, but also a lot of cultures there. And here now in the San Francisco Bay Area, where there's so many cultures because of immigration and just history in this land. I love the cultures that I get to live with, and it makes me curious to want to learn more, which is why listening has served me well to learn and be a lifelong learner. And I would say that challenging is my fourth point, because we are put here on this planet to not only love each other and learn from each other and listen to each other, but to challenge each other. And I think we get better when we do. We challenge not only people, but to challenge systems is one of the things that I think that we are also put on this earth to do, to make our planet better as cultures, as societies. So for us to be better for ourselves and for the next generation, we actually need to use whatever privilege we have to speak truth to power when we can, because privilege means responsibility. I think it actually requires it. Some people see privilege as a chance to stay comfortable, but I think that if we take that approach, we'll actually never be comfortable, because when we only live for ourselves, it's actually not any kind of form of comfort at all, because as human beings, we're social and we need each other, and listening to each other and learning from each other and loving each other, challenging each other, I think is kind of the next step. So I would say that some of the best ways I've learned all these things is by traveling. So that's my fifth point. I love to travel. It's just a personal favorite. COVID's made that quite hard for all of us, but I think that I've learned so much through travel and also just living abroad. But not everybody can live abroad, but a lot of us can travel with whatever means we have. And I would say one of the things I learned in my master's degree program when I was studying in Northern California, north of the Golden Gate Bridge, there's a community there in Marin County where people just travel a lot. And I did house sitting during those years. And I would find that sometimes the people who traveled the most didn't have the most well-decorated homes. They would spend their money actually on travel. And so that's kind of a lifelong lesson that I've stuck with. I would rather have experiences in my mind and in my brain and with my family than the best sofa, although I do love comfy sofas. I'd rather spend the thousands of dollars on my travel than I would on a really nice couch. Just a personal preference, but I find that it has enriched my life quite a bit. And my sixth point is to make quality time with loved ones and friends. And that means dates with your spouse or your significant other on a regular basis, whether it's a free date or you spend a lot of money at a nice restaurant. Also one-on-one times with each of my children. They're now 3 teenagers. One's about to graduate from high school. And I look back on our time together and our one-on-ones have been very special. My husband and I have done getaways with each of our kids at specific ages. So ages 6 when they were headed into primary school, age 10 when they were ending kind of their primary school time, age 13 when they became teenagers, and then age 18 as they're sort of ending their time. And we take one-on-one times, little trips, little getaways to kind of help them with this new marker of life. I think especially in Western culture, we don't have a lot of rites of passage. And one of the things I learned in my sociology degree was how important that is for us as human beings. So those traditions in the cultures around the world where we've kept rites of passage, people know what it means to grow up. And sometimes it's hard to grow up when you don't have those markers in your life. So we sort of created them for our own kids. When they turned 13, we gave them 13 challenges to do. For my oldest, it was 13, and we gave him all these tasks. He had to go on the MRT for 13 stops and sit at a coffee shop for 13 minutes and read a book. And it was just kind of fun stuff to conquer the urban jungle. But those have been very special things in our lives that have helped us have quality time with each other and also, with our as a spouses and also with our kids. But also, I just took a trip with my mom a few years ago where we visited some cousins that I'd never met up in Canada. And it was a really special time for us. There's just, life is short. And I think that putting quality time in for loved ones are the things we're not going to regret. Number 7, and this became very significant during COVID, early on in the pandemic, which is walking around your neighborhood, either with your spouse, somebody in your family, a neighbor, a significant other, a friend, having conversations that you might not ordinarily have, and also putting your phone down. I notice things when I walk in my neighborhood that I wouldn't if I was driving in my car or even riding a bicycle. And it's helped me to appreciate the change of the seasons, which I'm newly appreciating being in America after living in the tropics most of my life. But also it helps me get to know my neighbors, and it just helps me to be mindful of both my body and my breath and the smells and the sounds of the flowers. My husband and I like to stop and smell roses in our neighborhood because there's a lot of them blooming in the springtime. And I would also say it served me well. If you have to have a difficult conversation, walking in your neighborhood is kind of the best way to do it. It helps us breathe. It helps us be less hot-headed in the conversation. Walking in a forward motion can be a little less stressful than staring at each other and yelling in the kitchen or whatever it is. And so if you have a difficult conversation with someone, walking in the neighborhood is a great way to do it. It kind of gets rid of some of the junk that we bring into it and helps us be a little more level-headed in the conversation. And I would say number 8 would be to work to increase our diversity and our friendships. And I would say my life has been very full and enriched by many friends who are very different from me. And it has helped me gain a global perspective. And this is something you can do wherever you live, no matter what diversity exists in your neighborhood. But fortunately, with Zoom and ability to be on, Facebook and social media, Instagram, Twitter, there's ways to meet people even virtually that are different from you. And I would say increasing the people in my life that are different from me has helped me to discover my own blind spots, but it's also helped me to appreciate appreciate my privilege and know how to use it in ways that help others when they don't have it. For example, my husband and I were pastors at a church here in Silicon Valley for a couple of years, and we pastored a group within the church that's the LGBTQ community. Now, my husband and I are both heterosexual. I was born a woman. My husband was born a man, and we still identify in those ways. But we didn't have, as many people in our life that had a different point of view and a different perspective. And so pastoring this community helped us to listen and learn and love and learn a lot about how the world really that we live in is really made for straight white people like me. And so even though we're not pastors at that church anymore, we still do double dates with couples from that group, and just have been enriched through potlucks at their houses and holidays, where I have learned how to appreciate what I have and how society works for me, but it also helps me have compassion and learn how to open doors and be more inclusive of people who walk in a different way. And you don't have to agree with everybody in your diverse friend group on every life decisions they make or how they vote or how they think, but it does help you understand maybe how the world works or doesn't work for you. And that's always a good thing. And I have a thing on my website that's a free download at loriadamsaround.com/friends worksheet. If you would like to download that, it's just a very simple little chart that helps all of us increase our diversity of friends. And it's not the Bible. You can modify it. I made it very simple so that you want to put your own categories, you can, but it's benefited me. Number 9 is to mentor. And I would say that because I've been mentored throughout my life by some incredible people, it's helped me want to mentor others. And I would say, even if you only know a little about something, you know more than someone else. And so just that ability to invest in the next generation that we all have in different ways is very important. Whether you know how to change the oil in your car or drive a car, or whether you know how to fix electrical, items, parts of your house that maybe some younger kids don't know how to do, or maybe you play piano, or maybe you are good at tutoring, whatever it is, there's ways we can mentor others. And it's also important to remember that mentoring is always a two-way street. So anyone that I have mentored has always mentored me in a way. I went through a very difficult time a little over a year ago, and 2 women here in Silicon Valley that I was mentoring, who are half my age, ended up coming and bringing meals every week on Wednesday for about 10 months to help my family during a very difficult time with the pandemic and everything we were going through. And I would say that after having invested in them for about a year and a half, they were able to help my family and serve us in ways that still to this day are very significant. And my husband and I are about to go visit them in June in London because they don't live here anymore. But mentoring has enriched my life both by being a mentee and being a mentor, and I would encourage anyone to get involved in it. And last, but certainly not least, is to nurture your soul. And I would say that nurturing my soul has meant connecting spiritually on a daily basis. And that can look different for all of us. For me personally, I pray and I meditate and I read my Bible most mornings before I head out to work. I would define worship as awe and wonder. And for me, that means going to the beach, which I fortunately live close to, about 15 minutes away from Santa Cruz, and the cliffs of California and the ocean are just gorgeous. And they cause me a lot of awe and wonder. And we got to go to Firefall at Yosemite last year. And my oldest son is very much into the planets and the way the planets align with each other. He wants to be an aerospace engineer. And when we saw Firefall at Yosemite, I saw that awe and wonder in his face. And it showed me just like the act of worship at seeing something so beautiful all aligned for these couple of weeks out of the year, where it looks like fire falling from a mountain when it's actually just a waterfall. And sunsets all around the world, in Indonesia and Sulawesi and Venezuela, where I grew up, here in California, they cause me a lot of awe and wonder, and they help me nurture my soul to feel grounded and feel connected, to feel small and significant all at the same time. I think anytime we feel connected to others, to nature, or to the divine, that is an act of spirituality. And our bodies and our minds and our souls are all connected. And so I would encourage all of us to nurture our whole self with a special emphasis on our soul, because it really is the part of us that is eternal and has a long-lasting impact. Thank you, everyone. Happy anniversary to all of us at the World of Difference podcast. 2 whole years. This has been such a beautiful, amazing community. It's just an honor to be a part of it with you, to be making a difference with you wherever you are. I hope these 10 points in 10 minutes have spurred you on. And as you're traveling around the world this summer, maybe you'll get to sit next to someone on the plane, those long Trans-Pacific flights. Usually we're just trying to sleep, but there might be a little 10-minute window while you're waiting for your food or something where you get a chance to have a conversation with somebody and just share some of your 10 tips in 10 minutes on how you would give advice to someone else. And I hope this is going to be able to serve you to help get those creative juices flowing in your own head. I'd love to know your 10 points in 10 minutes, or just a few of them if you'd like to share them on Facebook and our Facebook group. I'd love to hear your perspective on what you find valuable, what you've learned throughout your life, and what you're currently learning and what's served you well. Also, like I said, check out my friend Stefan's podcast. And especially if you're in the recovery community, I would recommend him, as well as Jill Teets, as she is walking this sober journey as well. It's not easy. And I know that many of you celebrate your own recovery anniversaries and how important that is for you. And so we just want to honor you for all the hard work you do to stay in recovery. And it's great to be a part of a podcasting community where we can amplify one another's voices. So I definitely encourage you to check those two out. And thank you for a wonderful 2 years. Soon we'll be coming up on our 100th episode, and that's going to be a special one too. In the meantime, as always, please join us in our Facebook A World of Difference podcast community. We'd love to have you there, and just honored to celebrate these 2 years with you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the podcast. Thank you for engaging with it. And thank you for your perspective. I appreciate it so much. It enriches me. It enriches all of us. And keep making a difference wherever you are. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. As we're finishing this episode, if you're thinking, I really wish I could learn more or go a little bit deeper, well, that's what our Difference Maker community is for. I would love to welcome you in to join the rest of us there. Once again, it's only $5 a month to join, the price of a latte at your local coffee shop. You can join at our Changers tier. Difference Makers is a community that really means so much to me. It's very special because each time I have a guest on the show, I record something outside of what we give to just the regular podcast audience, where we go a little bit deeper. And then I post those video episodes in this community and we can discuss them. But also at the very beginning tier, which is our Changers tier of this community, you'll get exclusive voting power and help pick podcast topics that give us, more of what we want from your perspective. You'll have access to exclusive 30 plus mini-sodes that aren't out there for the general public. And you'll get every month an exclusive monthly bonus mini-sode. At our Groundbreakers level, which is $10 a month, you can join and get all of that, but also priority access to submit questions to the podcast. And you'll get an additional 2 exclusive monthly bonus mini-sodes. And at our Trailblazers tier, which is $15 a month, the price of 3 lattes a month, you can get all of that, plus also 3 exclusive monthly bonus minisodes, and a patron shout out. So I would love for you to join us at any of those tiers. It'll help you come into this community, be in the midst of all of us, other difference makers, and we'd love to hear your perspective. I certainly would. It's a place to engage more with me and the audience around what you like, what you're resonating with, and once again, go deeper with each of our guests. So please join us in this membership community. I would love to hear your perspective and love to share this extra content with you. So show up at patreon.com/a world of difference.